Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about the good old Apple Card that came out in 2019. Is it still worth it in 2025? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about that. Who the card is right for, who the card isn't for, and just everything the Apple Card has to offer currently at the time of filming this video. So let's get into it. In this video, I want to make sure that I go over everything in the best sense. Obviously, I might be a bit biased. Disclaimer. Not everybody loves the Apple Card. As a matter of fact, I think it may have more haters than it does people who like it. But I do fall in the category of somebody that loves the Apple Card. But I am going to speak about it in a factual way and not a biased way. So just felt like I should say that. So let's jump right into what the Apple Card has to offer. Like, what do you get for actually using the Apple Card? Well, you get 3% cash back at select merchants, which those merchants are. And also, by the way, at the time of filming this video, they added 2 new merchants to their 3% category, which is booking.com and ChargePoint. But they always gave 3% cash back at these select merchants, which were Apple, Ace Hardware, Dwayne Reed, Exxon Mobil, Nike, T-Mobile, Uber Eats, and Walgreens. And that 3% cash back is only in effect if you use Apple Pay at those select merchants. So if you do not use your device whenever you are purchasing from one of those select merchants, then you won't get that 3% cash back. If you use the physical card, then you get 1% cash back. And that's kind of the catch with the Apple Card. That always been the big thing. And personally, I do hate that feature, but I know exactly what Apple is trying to do by making you use your device. If you use the Apple Card at any physical location, then you only get 1% cash back no matter where you use it at. So if you use it at those select merchants that I just mentioned, the physical card, you still get 1% cash back. But if you use Apple Pay at those select merchants, you get 3% cash back, which brings me to the next point is you get 2% cash back whenever you use Apple Pay anywhere. So if you use the Apple Card on your phone, then you will get 2% cash back unless it's at one of those select merchants where you would then get 3% cash back. And I actually did a video where I showed my actual breakdown of each category and how much I made in each category. And if you want to see it more in depth, then I'll link that video up here and you can check that out after this one. Okay, and if you use the card in that sense or in that form that I was speaking about, Apple gives you cash back in the form of daily cash. That's basically their way of saying cash back. And Apple heavily promotes that the Apple Card has no fees, which is a really good thing. So no foreign transaction fees, no overdraft fees and stuff of that nature. Apple promotes it has no fees, and I can actually follow through with that and say that I've never been charged any kind of hidden fee or anything on the Apple Card. So I can back Apple on those claims. But speaking of being in the market for the Apple Card, how easy is it to get approved for this card? Well, let's talk about that. So I can't speak for the world or anybody else, but for me, it was not the most difficult card to get approved for. You can have a pretty low credit score. I was in the low 600s when I got approved for the Apple Card. So obviously that is not the best credit score, but obviously there's many factors that goes into your credit whenever you're trying to get approved for the Apple Card. For example, if you have high utilization, then you may not get approved for the Apple Card. If you have a lot of late payments, okay, then you may not get approved for the Apple Card. But say you have no late payments, you have very low utilization, but you have a low credit score, you still may have odds of getting approved, like the 620 range, 640 range. You may still be able to get approved for the Apple Card. It just depends on the factor of credit that is being the most affected. So if you have very high utilization, probably not. But the good thing about the Apple Card, you can see if you are pre-approved for the Apple Card in your credit limit before accepting the offer. Basically, a pre-approval does not hurt your credit. It's a soft pull, meaning it will not affect your credit score, which is very good. But the second that you approve that offer, then it will actually affect your overall credit score. But it doesn't hurt it that much. And if you do on-time payments and use the card responsibly, then your credit score will go up over time. And I would say the Apple Card is good for helping you build your credit. Some would disagree, but obviously I have my own opinions on certain things, and and obviously however you go at your credit or any financial institution, do your own due diligence and make sure it fits your financial situation. So that is what the Apple Card offers, but let's talk about some of the pros and cons of having the Apple Card. Like, what are some negatives? First and foremost, I would say this is a negative simply because everyone doesn't have this thing, but you do have to have an iPhone in order to get the Apple Card. So say you were a Galaxy user and you were interested in getting the Apple Card. Well, unfortunately, unless you're willing to get an iPhone, you can't get the Apple Card. And I see that as a negative because not anyone can get the Apple Card. But obviously, even if you could get the Apple Card, you couldn't use it to its full capabilities. Like, you couldn't do Apple Pay. You couldn't use it at the merchants and get 3% cash back. So not that you could if you didn't have the iPhone, but if you could, it's not like you could use the card to its full capabilities. That I would put in a negative category. Also, the 1% category. They give you this nice, beautiful metal titanium card and basically punish you for using it. So you pretty much have to put it in a shelf and forget about it and only use it in the form of Apple Pay because that's the best way to use it to get the most amount of daily cash back. So obviously, I see that as a negative because I personally like the Apple Card. I would like to be able to carry it around, but me, I don't use the physical card. I only use it in the form of Apple Pay or at those merchants for the 3% cashback category. So I would say that's one of those cons. And the last negative, which personally, I don't see it as a negative, but the majority of people do, is that the Apple Card is kind of boring. It's not a card that you have to worry about rotating categories or transferring points to partners or anything of that sort. They don't even have options for that type of stuff. It's a simple 2% cash back if you use it in the form of Apple Pay type of card. And I could even go deeper on that as a negative because you can't do Apple Pay everywhere because Apple Pay isn't accepted everywhere yet. It is growing rapidly and it is going into places that it never been before. So far, at the time of filming this video, Apple Pay isn't offered everywhere. Okay, so let's talk about some of the positive things you get from using the Apple Card. And like I said, everyone is different. Me personally, I actually like the fact, and I would see it as a positive, that it doesn't have rotating categories, or you don't have to worry about transferring points to partners. And I like that fact. It's very simple, to the point. Some would say a catch-all card. And me personally, I just prefer the simplicity of it being catch-all. And another pro that I would say about the Apple Card is that you don't really have to carry your wallet around to feel like you can get the full effect of it. As a matter of fact, it's actually smarter for you not to carry the Apple Card around because you have more of an effect when you use it in the form of your phone or the form of your watch through Apple Pay. So I would see that as a pro. Obviously, you could put all your credit cards on your phone, and I know you could use it through Apple Pay, but not all of your credit cards reward you for using it in the form of Apple Pay. Another pro is the way that the Apple Card is used and how you pay for it, and just the whole structure of the app that you use the Apple Card in, because you don't have to get a third-party banking app in order to use the Apple Card. It's in your Wallets app, and you just go to the Apple Card, and then it opens up the dashboard where it displays a bunch of different things that you would need to know about the Apple Card. And I made plenty of videos on the Apple Card where I actually go into detail on the thing I'm speaking about. So I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video. I just linked the video where it has the most information about the Apple Card app. So you can kind of check it out and figure it out on your own. You can check that out after this video. But I see the app as a pro because it has so many different features to help you out financially. And I truly think it's a good tool. So who would I say the Apple Card is right for? First and foremost, people who like simplicity. People who don't feel like they have time to go through transfer partners or points and stuff of that nature, or people who don't want to worry about rotating categories. Like, is this the place that I can go to? Is this the category with the highest percentage this month? People that don't want to worry about that, and people who just want simplicity. Plus iPhone users or Apple users of that nature, because you can have the Apple Watch and have the Apple Card. I don't know if you can get approved for it, because in order to get approved for the Apple Card, you have to do it through your iPhone. But I don't know all the details as far as doing it through like an iPad. But I do know you need a Apple device in order to have the Apple Card. If you are interested in it, That's the first step. Also, if you're an individual that truly is immersed in the Apple ecosystem, because the Apple Card is actually a good tool to use to buy your Apple products, simply because one, you get 3% cash back whenever you use the Apple Card at apple.com or in Apple stores and stuff of that nature. But they also have installment tools that make it extremely easy to be able to buy their things, which, what a coincidence. And who isn't the Apple Card for? Well, if you are a Galaxy user and you don't use Apple at all, or you're not a part of the Apple ecosystem, then obviously you're not going to use the Apple Card, or you're probably not interested in using it. But if you are someone who's strictly Galaxy, then obviously it isn't for you. For people who do like rotating categories and transfer partners and actually like to dive deep into their finances, not saying you don't care, but you have time to go over all the little bells and whistles and all the details, then the Apple Card probably isn't right for you, because it is very basic and simple, and I would say very beginner friendly. For those people who are at expert level of the credit card game, then maybe this isn't the card for you. And not that I feel like I have to say this, but I thought I would add it. But if you don't use Apple Pay, then I actually would say the Apple Card isn't for you, because then you couldn't use it to its full ability, and you won't get the highest form of daily cash from the Apple Card because you just don't use Apple Pay. And if you don't use Apple Pay, then you won't unlock the 2% category nor the 3% category. So if you don't like using Apple Pay, then I would say the Apple Card isn't right for you. And obviously there is a lot of things that I am leaving out in this video that I'm not going that deep into detail on. But like I said, I've made a lot of videos on the Apple Card, which you can go back and check out, and I'll link those videos either in the description or throughout the video. But with that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.